Okay, so now that I've got my manage marathons working, I want to go to add marathon, and I want to be able to add additional marathons. So I'm just going to take a look here at my add marathon. So that's within my view. So within my views, went to the admin view, add marathon. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to make this a little bit bigger here. Fluid container. So I'm getting rid of the breadcrumb trail. So I've got a row. It looks like it's got a div here that's going 6, which will go to another div that's doing another 6. So I'm following the red down. I see the div for the other 6, so I'm going to go right before here. And then I'm going to follow that line down to the bottom. And there's the closing div. It gives me a little blue tag, a little blue mark next to the closing tag. So it's deleting the second div out. So now I only have this one div here. This div here, instead of being 6, I'm going to make it 12, so it'll span the entire length of the screen. So if I save that and refresh that, now I've got this. So I'm just going to go with this first one here. I've got my div group here. I'm just going to delete the rest of them. I'm going to go all the way down, but I want to keep my submit buttons because I'm within a form. So I've got my submit buttons, I've got my forum tags. I'm going to save that. And I'm going to refresh. Okay, so I've got the beginning of what I'm going to do. So I'm going to add an H1 in here just to give it a heading. And I'm just going to say add new race. I'm just going to save that. Add new race. Okay, so getting rid of the P tag. Okay, so what I want to do is I want to have like a race name, race location, race description, race date. So those are going to be the main things that I want to bring in. So it's going to go race name. It's going to copy these two. So I've got my name, my location, my description, and my date. So race name. I'm going to put a break just to give it a little bit of space. I'm going to do that after each one of the controls just to separate the controls a little bit. So I'm just going to save that and see what that looks like. Okay, so that's getting there. Alright, so race location. Race description. Race date. Actually, I think that's it. So I'm going to just get rid of this last one. Okay, so race name input, I need to give it a name. And I'm just going to give it a txt name. I'm going to give this one a name as well. This one's going to be a txt location. This one's going to be a name, txt description. And this one's going to be a date. Okay, so this is just a regular old school form like what we've been doing early on. And within that form, we can do a method, which we're just going to do it as a post. And then we can do an action. And then the action is going to go to a method that we didn't create yet. So I'm just going to hard code /site. So the / is going to make it absolute. From within the site, I want to go to the admin controller. And then within the admin controller, I'm just going to create a method called add_race. Add_race. I always keep everything lowercase. So we're going to take these values and we're going to submit it to the add_race method. So at this point, I think we're not bad. I'm just going to save it and look at it. Okay, that's not bad. I could make description a little bit bigger. So instead of just being an input, I could make that a text area. With a text area, you actually have to have a closing text area. It's kind of just the way it works. So I'm just going to save that. Let's take a look at that. So it just makes it more of a description style box. Instead of submit button, I think I'm going to put it, say, add new race, or just add race and then reset. So I'm just going to make this. I think that looks good. I think that's good enough. I mean, basically what I'm trying to do is show you guys how to do an insert. So that way you fill this data in, hit the button, we're going to throw the data up to a method. And the method name is going to be add_race. So I need to go to my admin controller now. So if I go to my admin controller, I need to create a method. So I could create it anywhere. It's going to be a public method or a public function. It's going to be called add_race, open closing parens. Okay, so all of the data is going to come up into here, and then what we want to do is we want to basically do an insert statement. So I'm going to want to go into my race model. And within the race model, we're going to create another function. So I'm just going to copy this get races, because a lot of this is going to be very similar. Instead of get races, it's going to be add race. So I still need to pull in my database. That makes that work. And the way this works is I'm not going to return anything. I'm just going to do an insert statement. I could return a true to validate that it worked. But I'm just going to create an array. I'm just going to create a data array. And the way this goes is everything that is in the array will be inserted into the table. So we need to actually put in the column names and the variable names. So I'm going to actually open my database back up. So within the race, I care about the name, the location, the description, and the date time. That's what I care about. The autonum will work, and the foreign keys we don't worry about. So within the array, the first string value is going to be the actual field name. So I'm just going to go race name. And then I do the double equals for the arrow. And then the second one is going to be $name. And that's going to be a variable that's being passed into this function. So name needs to be passed into the add race. So in order to do this, we need to have a race name. So that's going to be the name. And then after the name, we're going to need a location. So I'm going to do location. Oops, it's got to be race location. It's got to match exactly. Race location. And then that's going to go to a variable called location. And I'm going to put that variable up here. So we pass our variables into the method. We're throwing the values into an array that's associating the value with the field name. Okay, so after location, I'm going to do a comma. And its description. So you have to spell it consistently. So if you screw up the first time, you just got to plow forward. So description, and then I'm just going to do a $. Description, $ description. That's how bugs are made. Okay, so I'm passing in the description, passing in the description. And then after description, I'm just going to do race date time. And then I'm just going to do $date. Okay, so I need to pass in the data that we're going to be inserting into the database. So that data is going to be passed into the addRace function. We load up our database. We're loading up the array. Instead of doing a get, we're going to do an insert. And then the first thing is going to be what table are you going to insert into, comma. And the next thing is going to be what data needs to be passed in. That's going to be that data there. So at that point, boom, we just inserted data into the database. So things like this actually do make, this a lot easier. So we need to go back to our controller here, and we need to load our race model because we got to call that function. So the add race, the first thing we got to do is add in that race model. Then the next thing we need to do is we need to call the function, but it's not the get races, it's going to be the add race. But then we have to pass in all those parameters. So the first one is going to be the name. So we need to do the $, this. Then we got to do the input. Then we got to do the post. Then the open paren. Then the string, which is going to be txt name. Then I need to do a comma because I'm going to do a bunch of these. Now I'm just going to verify if I go to my add marathon, I've got a name that's txt name, txt location, description, and date. So those are going to be what's being posted to this method. So just to help me, I'm going to copy this. I'm going to paste it 3 more times. I'm going to get rid of that trailing comma. So I've got my name. They have to go in the right order because name, location is the next one. Location is the next one, and I'll explain that order again. txt description, txt description, txt date. w16 date. So the order matters. So we've got add race, it's name, location, description, date. So they're comma separated, and that order matches the order here within my model. I've got add race, I've got name, location, description, date. So they have to be in that same order. So it would not know if we mixed that up. So I'm just going to save all my work so far. And I'm going to go back over to my controller. So at this point, the data got loaded into the database. If everything worked like absolutely perfect, like woohoo, you know, the data is now there. The one thing that we have left to do is have the controller do something. I mean, we can't just insert it and just leave it hang there. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to do a redirect at this point, and this way we add the race. Now we're going to go back to the manage marathon or manage marathons and see all of the marathons, and the new one should be in there. So there's a redirect, and I'm just going to pass in the location admin /manage _ marathon. And then I'm just going to do a comma, and then I'm going to do a refresh here. Just that way it gets the latest data, which should be everything we want here. So I'm going to save that. I'm going to go here. We got Joe, we got Bob. I'm going to come here. Time bomb Tom's 5K. Locations Green Bay. Description none needed. Erase date. Ooh, it's got to be formatted. I've got one in my cache. Right, so we're going to do. Oops. If you don't get it right, don't worry. It's going to be the 11:30 party. I'm going to add the race. Boom, boom, boom. Page not found. Site. Admin. Hopefully it's just the redirect. Go to my site. Oh, did I miss admin? Admin. Manage marathon. So I see time bomb Tom. That's good. So we're in there. But there was something with the redirect. So, manage marathons. Manage marathons. I'm going to throw an S in there. Add race. I'm going to save that. I think that's what's going on. So I'm just going to throw some garbage in here. Okay, so I didn't get the date right. That was not right, but that's okay. So at this point, we're adding data into the database. So not too bad. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to focus on this the delete.